Hello, everyone. I wanted to share some thoughts today to shift an old perception or belief that you may have around making yourself a priority or putting yourself first. A lot of us have been brought up to believe that it's being selfish, and the reality is there isn't anything further from the truth than that. Making yourself a priority actually is, well, it benefits everyone around you and it benefits them differently. Now, a good part of my life, I spent trying to keep people happy because I had this belief that if they were happy and I was doing what they wanted me to be doing, that my life would be easier. And that too couldn't be further from the truth. I was riddled with health issues and I was always sick. And when I started to shift things and consider things differently without even realizing it, my health started to improve. And it was such like a gradual thing that happened that I didn't even notice it. And I remember, my sister passed over into the beginning of 2001. And this would have been around 2007. I remember coming downstairs and sitting in the living room and crying. And I was crying because everything that I was taught to believe, everything that I knew, it all disappeared. It all shifted and changed for me. And I was like, I don't want to say devastated. I was shell-shocked. I was like, what? How could this have happened? So I had been sick since, well, the time I was 6 years old until I was around 41, 42. And all of a sudden, I didn't have so much as a runny nose. And it was a bizarre feeling. However, I just couldn't pinpoint what it was that, all of a sudden, and it wasn't all of a sudden, it was a few years. However, it was like, what was it that made that shift for me? So I kind of I always say, when you connect the dot backwards, you look at the trail and you know how you got to where you are. And the only thing that I noticed, and now it's been years, the only thing that was consistent is that I really start considering what felt right for me. What did I want to do? I never jumped into everything and just said yes to everybody. It was more of a consideration of what felt right for me. And if something didn't, I would find a way to share with them that I wasn't available for them. And it was challenging at first. And I went through this entire process with, I'll say, stepping away from my family a little bit and gradually not connecting with them as much as I had been. And it was actually a huge gift. So making yourself a priority shifts your energy. And what happens is when you are trying to people please, and now look, there's a certain degree of people pleasing that I love making people happy, but it's got to be on my terms. I've got to feel right about it. I've got to be in alignment with it. And then, yes, go ahead. Don't do it out of a sense of obligation or responsibility. When you do it from that, you're going to create this chaos in your body, which is what I had from the time I was 6 till 41, 42, right? So when you go against what feels right for you, what happens is you create this angst in your body because you're going against it. Your gut instinct is saying, no, but your subconscious, not your subconscious, well, it is driven by your subconscious, but your conscious mind, you're saying yes. And it's all because of the history and everything we've been taught to believe and hold as truth. When we go against what feels right for us, we're going to create something in our body that tells us that what we're doing isn't right. And yet we do it anyways. So when you go against what feels right for you, you're going to manifest some kind of, I'm going to say, health issue of some sort. It could be a runny nose. It could be something that people call a cold. I don't believe in colds anymore. It could be all of a sudden you have a chest pain, or your ankle starts to ache, or your shoulder. And there's a message wherever it is in your body. There is a message there to be discovered and unfold and looked at differently. And when you start to consider that everything in your life is energy and information, when you start to make that pivot of consideration for yourself and what feels right for you, everything else starts to fall away. And when I say that, the things that start to, just kind of fall away are the things that don't matter. The things that aren't in alignment with you, the things that don't have meaning for you, they don't feel right. They slowly start to disappear. So my health issues, they disappeared. And I was asthmatic from the age of 6 until 41 or 42. And I remember the day I came downstairs, I was sitting in the living room and I was in tears, and because I was shell shocked. Because what happened was I was upstairs in my bedroom and was sorting through some stuff and picking some stuff up, and I came across 2 of my puffers that I had been taking, Pulmicort and Bricanol. I was taking 2 puffs of each, minimum 3 times a day, up to 6 and 7 times a day. And what happened was I came across them and they had expired. And I was like, what the hell? I haven't been using them. And then it was like I couldn't even remember when the last time was that I had used them. And I was totally shocked by it because it didn't make sense. So I remember sitting in the living room and I was in tears because everything that I had held as truth and was taught to believe no longer made sense to me. So here I was, kind of starting fresh and recognizing differently that we create so much from our beliefs. And all of a sudden I was starting and I was standing in a place that I had never stood before because I was consciously aware. When I connected those dots backwards and I looked at my journey, I was like, wow. And what it took was me starting to consider myself. And I didn't really consider myself till I was 35. And there's a whole story behind that, However, I wanted to share with you today that making yourself a priority is so important, and it is not selfish, because what happens is when you're in alignment with yourself, everything in your life flows effortlessly. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges or struggles. It's that you will have them, but they won't take hold of you like they did in the past. You'll start to navigate through them differently, and you won't be as disheartened and sunken by what's going on outside of you. You'll start to see things differently. And the other thing that happens is people around you, their energy starts to shift as well, for the better, for the better. And it's a beautiful thing that happens. However, when we live by habit of what we were taught to believe or told what was reality, we limit ourselves based on someone else's beliefs. So I wanted to share this with you today, that making yourself a priority is the most selfless thing you can ever do. Now, if you have any questions or thoughts you want to share with me, please comment below and I will answer your questions. And who knows where you're going to stand after listening to this? Where will you be at the end of the day? Huge hugs.